all, and welcome back to another wonderful video. Today I'm here on this random Discord server, the Luminous Kingdom Discord server to be exact, because today we're here with another Species in Depth, and today this Species in Depth video is going to be about lumens, as per request from Pink Lumen himself. So today we're going to be going over the lore, which you can see it all here. There's not very much of it. We're going to go over the Discord server because me and the co-host, who's the co-host, are going to have a few comments about the server as a whole, and of course we'll go over what their design is and our overall thoughts and stuff like that. But as I hinted at, there is a co-host for today. Today I have Luca Mint. So Luca, what do you want to say? How do you want to introduce yourself?
Well, hello there. I am your spooky co-host for the day. I'm not sure how this is gonna go, but I'll do my best.
This is her first time co-hosting, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read this first little thing here and the lore the Lumen canon, whatever you want to call it, and then I'll have you read a little bit, and overall we'll just kind of bounce off some criticisms towards them and their lore and everything like that. Without further ado, let's get on with the lore. So this lore, I want to mention before I do get onto it though, this is very old. This is 2018. That's how old this lore is. It's like 2 years old, and I want to point out that is 2 years old, and it's not very much. As well, the Lumens, I don't know how many of you know this, but they are one of the oldest species in Ponytown. They've been there since like 2016. They've been there basically since the beginning. So they've been there for a really long time, and they still have meetings. They still discuss things, and they're still interacting and playing Ponytown. So they've been on there for quite a while. They wrote down lore in 2018. They still haven't added to it. And yeah, it's a little bit disappointing, but let's go ahead and get into it. So lumens, what are lumens? Lumens are aliens of light, but they weren't always like that. There was a planet named Umbra. It was a land of nothing. Any semblance of sentient life was psychotic and savage. It possessed no form of society or intelligence. They were simplistic beasts of the void. A group of travelers from another more civilized world visited the desolate rock to search for intelligent life. They yeah, that typo.
How has it been 2 years?
A 2-year-old typo. A two-year-old typo. They soon realized on this rock there was no such thing as peace. No love, no language, no attachment. That kind of reminded me of Fallout. I don't know why. But what do you think of that? What are your thoughts on this little starting point here?
I actually kind of like the idea of the starting little point. It's pretty good. It's a pretty decent idea. Void beasts.
Yeah, void beasts.
They were changed.
It kind of makes me interested to see more about it, but at the same time, it's sort of like, I don't know, it feels like something I've heard a million times at the same time. It's probably just because I've done a billion species in depths or went through so many different species lore and stuff like that. It's something about it feels really familiar, and I don't know why, but it feels really familiar. It's not a bad thing, but it just feels really familiar.
Yeah, the travelers have come up with not... What? The travelers have come up with not a valley. What? How is that? Come on.
Another 2-year-old typo. At least it
seems
seems like. If that's not a typo and that was intentional, they need to reword that. Oh my god.
Yeah, I was like,
I think
what?
that's.
I can't. What is some?
I think the word "not" is supposed to say nothing. I think it's supposed to be like come up with nothing of value,
yeah.
Or had came up with nothing of value or something. I don't know. But anyway, continue.
Yeah, but a pack of savage flesh-eaters deemed it to be best to purge the planet of all life before moving on. In the ensuing bloodbath, many energy-based weapons were used, most giving off fantastic glows amongst the deep black. This had an adverse effect on the monsters. They started to absorb the energy beams, giving off deep hues of color in response. This prompted the purge to be halted, and the beasts further studied. Again, I like the idea of having something that is, corrupted and then transformed into good. It's a
Mm-hmm.
decent concept. I don't like to see stuff like that overdone, however, which I haven't seen it too overdone yet, so that's good. But yeah, it's a really nice concept.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like the like. I kind of wish they would elaborate more on these travelers and elaborate more on like what
Yeah,
these weapons were. Like, all we know is that they were looking for intelligent life and things like that. And for some reason, like they they for some reason deemed it best to just purge the planet of life before moving on, even though that kind of doesn't feel realistic to me. I feel like because those creatures weren't going to get off that planet. They weren't going to get off that planet. They weren't going to discover, space travel. They
yeah,
weren't going to become advanced enough to get off that planet and serve any sort of threat to any other part of the universe. They were just kind of, there. So I think what they could do to kind of expand on this lore, make it give us a little bit extra, they could do something along the lines of like they studied it and found out that it is possible for certain spores on the planet to actually escape the planet and, enter other planets and stuff like that, potentially poisoning life on those planets, potentially corrupting those planets, turning them into void-like entities or something like that. So I think that's something they could do to kind of expand on that. Instead of being so generic and so like vague about what happened or what's going on. I mean, this is your lore, this is your history, this is something that should be a little bit more fleshed out, especially being 2 years old, and especially your species as a whole being like 4 or 5 years old or whatever. So
yeah.
that definitely can definitely needs a little bit of work.
I would
Um,
like to actually see if like them establish like the travelers as an actual thing and be like,
mhm.
yeah, this is what the travelers look like, blah blah blah. That would be kind of neat because it's like, oh yeah, they're just a random group of aliens that came and did stuff. It would be nice to kind of be like, hey, this is, kind of what they look like. That this is where they came from. Blah blah blah. Have like a reason. Have a little bit more
Mhm.
to that
Yeah,
because it's just like, okay,
I agree. I mean, like I said, they need to expand a little bit more on like what these people are and stuff because I mean, what are they? Where'd they come from? Who are they? What are they? What is their ultimate goal? Because it says they're looking for intelligent life, but like, what is their goal if they do find intelligent life? Where did they come from?
yeah,
Like you said, I feel like something that could benefit them is to sort of establish sort of a solar system or something like that. Perhaps this is just another planet, and
yeah,
this intelligent life, these travelers came from a planet in the same solar system, and they started there since they knew there would probably be life there, and then they found that it was so dangerous, and they decided that maybe it would be better to purge it since it's so close to us, and anything can
yeah.
happen. Like I said, the spore idea is kind of interesting way to do that, but expand on your lore further because like we're already almost done with the lore and we've only like read like for 2 minutes, so let's continue on with the lore. So the flora of the planet began to exhibit the same traits as the creatures, raising many questions about some sort of connection as time went on. The planets began to flourish into life, all kinds of colors coming into existence, forming new patterns and unique blends. Soon this progressed into a fully luminescent planet of shining colors and fantastic patterns. Culture was next to rise, starting simple but soon evolving into a it says full functional, but fully functional city complex with an operational hierarchy and spanning entire mountain ranges due to, or not due to, entire mountain ranges. Okay, there's no period there. That's why I thought I didn't have
Yeah,
a pause there. A true display of power and a
periods.
real difference from the way it used to be. So what do you think of that?
Periods are needed.
Yeah, periods are needed
um,
in that case, especially because I kind of just I thought I was gonna flow with it because that paragraph's so
yeah,
short, so it
and
kind of
it's
felt like it was
like,
gonna be one sentence.
oh no. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's just establishing on the previous. Oh yeah, this is what what's changed from the void monsters that they were to becoming something new from these energy weapons.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's alright, but at the same time, I still feel like there should be more established about, like, okay, so there's, some sort of connection, like, where was it? It was something about the flora. Yeah, the flora of the planet began to exhibit the same traits as the creatures. Like, I feel like there should be something behind that. Like, it says that, but like, what is it? There should be an actual connection because I don't see anything here saying, okay, well, this is why they have a similar connection, and it's just like, oh yeah, it just is, you know what I mean?
I know what you
It's
mean.
weird.
I kind of like it. It very strongly hints that there's some kind of connection between the plants and the lumens themselves, almost as if perhaps they evolved from those plants, or perhaps they're connected through some sort of I don't know, mind type thing, like some kind of mind control type thing. I don't fucking know. But that kind of
Yeah.
goes back to my idea earlier, where it's sort of like maybe the plants on that planet, maybe the flora on that planet, or whatever you want to call it, perhaps it has some kind of properties that allows it to sort of escape off the planet, or at least get off of where they are and sort of infect people or other living organisms or something like that, and sort of establish some sort of connection to it, where it's like if the plant gets hurt, then maybe you get hurt. There could have been something like that, where it's sort of like this is a very dangerous kind of thing, because these plants can kind of connect to you in such a way that it might kill you or completely take over. And I
Yeah.
think that's something that they should explore more of, because they definitely strongly hint that there's some kind of connection between the lumens and these plants. Like, you could tell us that. Like, you don't have to keep that secret, you don't have to hide that from us. That's the thing, is like a lot of this lore, after reading basically all of it except this last few sentences, it's like every part of it is trying to hide it from you. They're trying to hide everything from you. And it's been 2 years since this was written down.
Yeah.
You would think they would kind of, like, oh, people started theorizing this or that or whatever, so we started, to develop the background a little bit more, the lore a little bit more, and kind of explore what's going on, because we don't know what's going on, in the sense that you're hiding so much from us, and that you don't need to hide stuff. Like, why are you hiding stuff?
Yeah, and as well, it's like talking about how before they were simplistic beasts of the void. They were savages. They're they were bad enough that apparently the travelers wanted to kill them all. So
Yeah.
how have they managed to from this changed in that aspect? How have they become? How have they become more civilized and more normal and not trying to just murder every single thing they see?
Yeah, how was
Or
that?
have they even changed?
It's like, how was that progression? How was that progression? Because it just says soon this progressed, and it kind of just started happening. How was this progression though? Like, what were the struggles with this progression?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to take this extremely savage planet and then just immediately turn them into civilized people, or living
Yeah.
organisms, creatures, whatever you want to call them. There's going to be struggle, because they're not going to be able to get to all of those dangerous creatures. They're not going to be able to get to all of them. They're going to
Yeah,
have
exactly.
issues getting to all of them. Obviously they murdered a large number of them before they kind of discovered what was going on, but they didn't fully explore how was this, like, once they started becoming civilized, was there some kind of issue where they still had to, they kind of ended up having to hunt their ancestors, in the sense that there were still tons of these monsters, these savage versions of them that had to end up being killed, because by their own kind. Like, the civilized versions had to end up helping kill off the savage versions, because eventually they just couldn't do the whole thing, or even if they could do the
Yeah.
whole thing, how did they do the whole thing? Did they do some kind of system with satellites and shit like that? Did they somehow bathe the entire planet in this light, etc., etc.? Like, there's so many ways that you can explore how that might have been done, but you're kind of hiding it, and that that kind of
Yeah.
continues on with this last thing here. It says that the travelers were pleased with their work. They left the planet and now dubbed them the Lumens. And they had found a way to replace the numbers they had so savagely murdered. I guess they somehow found out either how to clone them or they figured out some kind of selective breeding or some kind of breeding type thing. I don't freaking know. And it goes on. This was in a secretive manner. Again, secretive. They're hiding so much for some reason. Apparently, it uses a light mixing technique that was not heard of until that very day. So, again, they're just hiding so much with this lore. They're just not telling us everything. And that's kind of upsetting. It's like, why are you hiding so much?
Another thing that I want to mention
What?
would, maybe some of the lumens, maybe some of them only changed partially. Maybe there was some of that was still in them. Maybe they're still kind of void beasts, but they were changed a little bit because they've been hit by the rays, but not not enough that it went through their whole body and changed them completely.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I personally like
a lot you could explore there, but you've explored none of it.
I don't. There's an Umbran type. See, the thing about it is they in the lore that they provide, if they don't provide details on why there's aerial lumens, aquatic lumens, Umbran lumens, pure lumens, basic lumens, shapeshifter lumens. I don't know if I said depth lumens, but depth lumens and things like that. They didn't explore that in their lore, explaining how these different versions came to be necessarily. It says that the flora of the planet began to exhibit the same traits as the creature, and it began to flourish into life of all kinds. But it mentions more so all kinds of colors coming into existence and new patterns and unique blends. Doesn't necessarily explore why there's aquatic versions, aerial version, depth versions, etc., etc. Like, kind of explore that, because I don't know necessarily what the difference is between an Umbran lumen and a depth lumen and things like that. If you click on depth lumens, you'll see a thing that says depth lumens have evolved to scrabble at rocks, burrow through the ground, and push through and around boulders. To become a depth lumen, simply give your lumen horns, break boulders, claws to dig, yada yada yada, basic stuff to kind of explain how to make one. But why isn't that just in the lore? I would rather that be like in the lore, explaining these creatures kind of came into this kind of version of a lumen because of this and that, and stuff like that. Because it's overwhelming enough as it is to have like freaking, how many is this? About 7 different versions of your species, but then not explain why there's 7 different versions.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure how it is. I'm pretty sure how it seems like it is you can kind of match these, so you can have like a pure aquatic or whatever with these lumens, but it's just like, not a lot explained there, and
they don't even explain what an Umbran version of a lumen is at all. There's literally no explanation for it, literally anywhere that I can find.
Yeah, is it
like if you click on the Umbran guide, it doesn't say why there's Umbran versions. Is it this corrupted version of a lumen? Is it one that didn't fully, reform or whatever? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
You can kind of tell us that.
Yeah.
You should tell us that.
Did it not even get changed at all? Maybe it's still like the
savage ones?
The savage ones.
We don't know. They're hiding so much from us, and I don't understand that. They're hiding so much, in fact, that when you try to join the server, before you got, checked in and everything like that, you couldn't even take a look at the lore or anything. So you couldn't even kind of get familiar with the lore and stuff like that before you joined, or, fully joined. I think that should be a channel that's just open to you before you fully join. That way, you have a chance to kind of familiarize yourself with the lore and the information on them and stuff like that, even though there's not much.
Yeah.
So moving on to the, how to make one of these lumens and everything like that. It's a pretty standard tutorial. It's something that you would see in basically any other species out there. You have sort of, crosses and X's on things you're not allowed to use, and then everything else that you're allowed to use isn't crossed off. Things like that. You can take a look at basic creation rules, and it just gives you a rundown of things that you're just not allowed to use no matter what. Things like no shirts or hoodies. Cloaks are allowed for some reason, but shirts and hoodies are no. And they kind of specify, you can use paws and claws, but kind of depends on what lumen you're using. Different things like that. So it's all pretty basic stuff there.
I always found it weird restricting clothing items. Because usually you'd expect them to be able to wear clothes, but apparently not unless it's a cloak or something. So that's weird.
This also should be, I guess it doesn't have to be, but I feel like it should be updated to include dresses and stuff like that if you're not allowed to have dresses or whatever. That is almost everything we have to talk about. All we really have left to talk about is the Discord server as a whole.
And the Luminous evolution too.
Oh, the Luminous
it's
Luminous evolution.
Just
yes,
coming soon, but we should
it's been there
probably
for like
talk
3
about
months.
the fact that it's been there for 3 months.
Yeah,
it's not been changed, so that kind of seems a little bit weird. Like, if you're gonna add something here about lore or whatnot, why have you taken so long? It doesn't take 3 months to write lore. Have you just?
I don't know.
Like,
the thing is,
I should write more lore, and then you don't.
Is that even what this was going to be, though?
To write lore for you. Well, it's under a history book, so it
could be
lore.
It could be, yeah. Theoretically, that's what it would be, but technically, we don't have any idea. Again, there's not. They're hiding things and they're not updating things. Like, I get that, like, Pink Lumen's a very busy guy, but this is what you get, like, lore teams, lore groups, and stuff like that for. This is why you get people that are familiar with your species to help you come up with lore and stuff like that, and they can be like, okay, here's what, here's my suggestion for this type of lore or whatever like that, and then, if you... Maybe that saves you a lot of time because you can take that and be like, okay, this can't be canon, this can't be canon, let's do this, let's do that. Tweak that person's suggestion on lore and then just add it and update it and stuff like that. That's what a lot of species do. A lot of species have that.
That's
kind
what
of thing.
I'd do.
Yeah. This channel has literally nothing on it. It shouldn't have been made if it was going to take 3 months. And I get that maybe you didn't realize it was going to take, at least 3 more months to release that. But just delete this channel. It's honestly I'm not gonna lie, it feels like it would be slightly embarrassing if this was me. I would be slightly embarrassed, like, it kind of ended up taking like a little bit longer than I thought. I'm just gonna remove the channel and add it later. It was a nice teaser, but it's nothing. I think if you're gonna do something like this, you should have like 99%, if not all of it, done, and then tease it. Then that way you're not in a situation where it takes you at the very minimum 3 months to add that and everything. As for the rest of the server, Luca, what are your thoughts?
There's way too many channels for one. I've heard that apparently you get pinged way too many times in this channel.
You do get pinged a lot.
Well,
if you go over to
which is kind of weird.
Announcements. If you go to announcements, you'll see they do a meeting basically every night or whatever, so you'll get pinged at least once a night. Sometimes twice a night, sometimes 3 times a night, because sometimes you'll have cases where it's like, oh, it's meeting time, come to Ponytown is your area, 1 lumen, whatever species area, and then a little bit later, 13 minutes later exactly in this case, Pink will say that there's not that many lumens, and they'll ping again, and then more people will show up. So in my opinion, you're pinging too much. But that's literally a meme on the server. Everyone knows that about Pink, that he just pings all the time. I don't know why he does, but he does. That's just how Pink is. That's just how it is. Everyone knows it, and everyone's used to it.
I would recommend doing something like making a rule for if you want to come to a meeting, have a meeting rule for people who actually want to come and will actually consider joining the meeting. So you don't bother the entire server and have half of the people in here. I don't even know how many people are in here, but there's probably a lot, and most of them don't even see your pings because they've all muted your server. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure most people have like everyone at here turned off, at least for the announcements, because this server has like 1,000 people in it. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. There's like 1,000 people on this server. And as you can see, yesterday when he pinged, you know, it was a meeting. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe about 6 or 7 people showed up out of 1,000 people. And then he pinged again, and then a few more people ended up showing up. So I think the problem of people not showing up is just a matter of people who just have turned off literally at everyone at here. On your server. So like Lucas suggested, I would honestly agree. Make some kind of meeting ping role and then ping that every day for your meetings or whatever. So I think that's what
I'd only do it once.
Yeah, and only do it once unless you absolutely like need to do it more than once.
Yeah.
Also, again, I don't know if it's necessary to ping everyone to say that there's not going to be a meeting. Instead, just kind of make it clear in like the beginner's guide or somewhere else on the server, at least make an announcement or two and be like, I'm not going to do that because there's no point. If I don't ping you, then there's no meeting. That's that.
Yeah.
And I mean, you don't have to stop doing that because, again, if you make like the meeting role or whatever, you can ping that and say there's no meeting instead. But that's besides the point. That's just something that's our opinion on a way to sort of lessen the whole, oh my gosh, pings all the time and people being upset about that. Because people complain about it all the time, but people are used to it at the same time because it's Pink. That's what he does. That's his thing. But the rest of the server, you got a lot of like channels that just don't make any sense, and a lot of a lot of channels you don't need. It's too many channels. Yeah.
There's a lot of useless channels that don't get used. There's channels that it's like, okay, you can combine this into one. You know, that's kind of the thing every other server does. You don't need so many channels. It's just going to make it harder for people to navigate your server, which is honestly going to make people want to, you know, join and be active on your server less because it's like, it's so overwhelming. I joined the server. I have all the tabs closed basically, except for the ones that I need. But even then, I need to scroll like two things down. I need to go, like, my bar is only halfway through all things on the server, and I have so many things closed. I have meetings closed, I have questions and suggestions closed, I have contests closed, I have shopping district closed, I have museum closed, performance halls also closed, interdimensionals also closed, and downtown miscellaneous is closed. And that's still a lot of channels, even with all those closed. So that's kind of a problem. That's really overwhelming, especially to new people who have just joined the server. It's like, where is everything?
They have 7 different art channels. One for Lumen, like Lumen fan art, so it has to be fan art. Then they have a channel for non-Lumen art. Then they have an art channel for shiny edits of Lumens, whatever the hell that means. Then they have non-Lumen edits for miscellaneous edits. Then they have an animated gallery for GIF and video artwork, so like animations and stuff like that. Then they have an edit discussion for people who want to talk about editing, I guess, pictures, videos, whatever, sort of like the miscellaneous edits earlier. And then they have an art discussion, so you can discuss all of those things. Why do you need this many? Why do you need this many art channels? All you need is a Lumen art gallery, so you can have like people that make art of Lumens can be on there. I think that is important for species to have like a species art channel that is about just the species. That way, people that are joining or people that, you know, want to make art of the characters, you can kind of see what the character would look like more in a realistic manner versus the limitations that Ponytown has. So that's fine. But then you have non-Lumen art. Again, that's fine, but why do you also have edits? Why do you have miscellaneous edits on top of those edits? And then why do you have animated stuff on top of that stuff? And then a discussion channel for edits, and then a discussion channel for art. Almost all of this is completely useless. Have an art discussion channel, a non-Lumen art channel, and then a Lumen fan art channel, and I don't think you need anything else, because if it's a video or a GIF, if it's animated, it's still technically art. You can maybe get away with keeping the animated thing, but you don't need that many. You don't need 7. It's too
Yeah,
many.
usually with a lot of servers, they just end up being like, okay, here's your art channel, and
Mm-hmm.
everything that's art goes under it, including music. If you make
Yeah.
music, it goes
Goes
under
in
the
there.
art channel.
Yeah.
Obviously, species are going to have their own species-related art channel, but that's basically all you technically have to do. Species-related art channel, regular art channel. There we
Mm-hmm.
go.
Other than that, you have a courthouse. Personally, I don't really like this whole system of like a court type thing. I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure what it is, but it seems like by going through the trial rooms and the public chat in the courthouse category, it appears that the whole point of it is to find people that you've banned, kicked, or whatever else, and then people can sort of make an appeal and say, "Oh, I was banned wrongfully," or this or that or whatever. And then apparently there's some kind of meeting for it, and you ping everyone for it. When I don't think everyone should be involved when it comes to something like that. I think that's a little bit more.
Yeah.
You know, you and your admins, maybe your mods as well, maybe only those people should, be in on that kind of thing instead of pinging everyone for that.
And whoever else is involved with.
Yeah, and of course,
however they got banned.
Yeah, if like this person got banned because they were doing this to this person, then invite that person for that as well. The system as a whole, I don't like it. I don't like it just feels weird. It's a weird thing. I've never seen this before in a server where they do this kind of thing, and it feels really weird. I don't like it. It just feels wrong in a way. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
It also hasn't been used in a really long time. Literally, the last time the trial room chat was used was on February 12th of this year. So it's been basically an entire year. So
yeah, if you don't
this
use
not being used
channels and you don't want to delete them, you could literally just hide them to everyone except for you and your admins, because obviously admins are going to see everything anyways.
At the very least, put the category all the way at the very bottom of the server. That way, even if you don't want to hide it, it's way out of the way and people don't, have to scroll extra far, even though you can still, I guess, technically close that category. But still, put it all at the bottom. Helps just a tiny bit if you're not going to completely outright close it and everything. But there's different stuff like that. There's all kinds of like unnecessary channels and things like that. But I think we've rambled enough about the server and the species as a whole. So Luca, do you have any more thoughts about anything at all?
I believe the Lumens actually could be really a lot more interesting, and I would love to see them actually work on their lore and everything like that. However, just in general, I don't really think they're that great of a species right now. They're an old species, obviously, which kind of it is clear from the design. Like, it's very simple for a species design. And as well, it just has no lore whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, you're only riding on a few factors here. It's owned by Pink Lumen, and, well, basically that's it. It's also an old species. That's the other factor. That's literally the two factors you have there, which is why it's really had the success it has had.
I didn't mention my thoughts on what the species look like, but as Lucas said, they're pretty much basic, nothing too spectacular or anything like that. They look totally fine. I like them. They're very old school because they're an old species.
Yeah,
there's nothing really bad about them. So overall, when I do see a lumen, I do recognize that it's a lumen, or at least most of the time. Sometimes you see something that's a little bit similar to a lumen that's not, but that's besides the point. I think they look fine, but overall, my final thoughts on the species as a whole would probably be something along the lines of this species, even though it's extremely like old, even though it's like 2016, like it was like created sort of roughly around 2016 when Ponytown was formed.
I'm surprised it was that old.
It's like it's pretty old. I don't know if it was 2016, but it's literally the oldest species in Ponytown, pretty much, that's still active anyway.
2017, something like that.
It might have been 2017, but that's besides the point. The point is, this species has been around for several years, at least a few years, and it still looks like a new species. It still looks like it hasn't been around for very long. And I don't know why that's the case. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's because you have virtually no lore. I'm pretty sure it's because, you know, you have this, and that. Several channels that haven't been touched in so long, and all kinds of things. The fact that, you know, your meetings always come up with only like about 10 people or so. There's so many factors that make it look like the species is kind of roughly new, especially when you look at the lore and there's almost nothing there. It feels new even though it's old, because it just feels like it hasn't had enough time to really grow, and that's weird because it's the oldest species pretty much. But yeah, that's my final thoughts about everything. So that's going to do it for this episode of Species in Depth. If you guys have any ideas for future species, let me know in the comments below, and things like that. I'll get to you eventually. I have a big list. I've been going through them. I'm actually kind of about to completely redo my list, so now's a good time to recommend stuff. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I do hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please do like, subscribe, and share, and do all of those wonderful things, because when you do those wonderful things, you get access to wonderful content such as this. But that's not all you get. That's not all you get. You also get to become one for yourself, and I think we all want that. So do those wonderful things, and until next time, stay wonderful.